Tonight, I can share new and exclusive reporting about a cluster of suspected directed energy attacks that are blamed for crippling brain and neurological injuries affecting spies, diplomats, military personnel, and civilians. It's commonly known as Havana syndrome. Through my reporting, I've identified at least 3 incidents beginning in 2020 involving U.S. government personnel in Northern Virginia. In some cases, the individuals were investigating directed energy weapon technology, and at least 1 incident occurred at a U.S. government facility. The CIA and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, that's the nation's top intelligence official, did not respond to my questions about how the risk to U.S. personnel is being addressed. Joining us now is Dr. James Giordano, Professor Emeritus of Neurology at Georgetown University Medical Center. He has also served as a forensic neuroscientist on Havana syndrome cases. Dr. Giordano, let's begin with a simple explanation for people so they can understand how these directed energy attacks impact the individuals and their brains.
Sure, absolutely. Well, if we're looking at directed energy, the issue is that essentially there's 2 types that have been used. One was a form of sonic energy, and the other appears to be a laser-induced microwave, a very rapidly pulsed microwave. In the former situation with the ultrasound, what's essentially happening is the compression and expansion of the ultrasonic wave causes almost a bubbling effect within fluid media within the brain, within the head.
So it's like a concussive effect within the brain.
It is. It's almost as if what's happening is that they're getting some form of decompression sickness. The symptoms are very similar. So what's happening is these are causing bubbling and rippling, which is then disrupting not only the balance organs and hearing organs, but may also then transmit into the brain to cause something like a mini stroke.
So let me take that a step further. With the initial assault, is that where the injury and the damage ends, or is it progressive?
It is progressive. As we mentioned, there are 2 types, the second type being microwaves, and the microwaves really will disrupt the network effects of the brain. Think, if you will, of putting something like a cell phone very briefly into a microwave for a second. It may seem that it's working the same, but it will never actually be the same, and in fact, its function may decrement with time. This is the same thing we're seeing with these patients. There'll be an initial set of effects that tend to worsen as various aspects of the brain and nervous system become far more disrupted, deteriorated over time.
I want to talk to you about some new reporting. I've been able to identify at least 3 incidents in the Northern Virginia area in the last 5 years. I think there are in fact more, where the individuals report an initial attack with a directed energy weapon, and then there's a pause, and then there's sort of a staccato of attacks, sort of a rapid pace of attacks that follow. What does that tell you about the nature of these weapons and the damage that's being done?
Well, this seems to be more of the microwave type or something along the electromagnetic frequency with it. The first attack is called a priming attack. It may get ranging, it may get certain characteristics to be able to affect the individual, and then what you get is secondary attacks, or what are sometimes called sequence or finishing attacks. And what that may then incur is an amplification of the initial effect. So what you're sort of doing is you're stirring the pot, and then you're really letting it boil.
Based on your research, are you also seeing this ripple effect, not just with the brain injuries and neurological, but into something called the autonomic nervous system? So things that your body does, involuntarily, like your blood pressure and your heart rate.
Yeah, what seems to be happening is with these microwave type of attacks, more and more of them are focusing on areas of the nervous system that control these automatic or autonomic functions. So what we're seeing is the initial attack may seem very, very neurological and somewhat debilitating, confusing, people off balance. But then the sequela, in other words, what occurs afterwards, involve things like gastrointestinal function, cardiac rhythm, blood pressure, and even immune function, where individuals seem to be hyperinflammatory or exhibiting what appears to be almost like a chronic fatigue syndrome. These are very strongly what we call dysautonomia type effects.
Based on your research, there's no question in your mind that these directed energy weapons are real and are being used overseas and also domestically.
Oh, without a doubt, Catherine. I mean, the technology is there, the readiness level to make these things fieldable, scalable, and operationalizable is patent, and these represent clear and present dangers, both overseas and now certainly within the United States.
Final question, is this next generation warfare, is this what they call gray zone warfare?
Oh, I think what we're seeing is a new dimension of warfare that embraces emerging technologies to be able to engage both clandestine and ever more, like these, covert operations where attributability becomes very, very difficult because the device may not be available, the technology is cryptic, and certainly what we tend to find is latent effects, making it ever more difficult.
Dr. James Giordano, thank you so much for your expertise and insight this evening.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me tonight.
Last year, I interviewed a directed energy attack survivor, a retired and decorated counterintelligence officer named Mike Beck. He told me that in 1996, he and his partner were on assignment in a hostile country when they discovered a dangerous technology that could be used against the United States. After Mike was attacked, he developed a Parkinson's-like syndrome. This interview may be hard to watch. A year after this home video was shot of his daughter's christening in 1995, Beck describes a directed energy weapon attack that hit him and his partner while on assignment for the U.S. government. The location remains secret.
We traveled to a hostile country, and we found some pieces of gear that we only heard about. We walked in on an operation that the hostile country was doing.
So you were attacked by a hostile intelligence service after you made a major find about their capabilities that they were going to use against the United States.
Right.
Mike Beck was later diagnosed with dementia, and he died earlier this year. He leaves behind his wife, Rita, who has been fighting the government for recognition of her late husband's injuries as well as basic compensation. After our investigation, then Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard initiated a new review, and 2 Biden-era intelligence assessments were recalled. Those assessments said it was very unlikely a foreign adversary or novel weapon were involved. Rita Cicala joins me now. Rita, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Always very tough, just with your recent death of your husband. I want to begin in 2023. I have this letter here from the National Security Agency where they acknowledge that it's more likely than not that your husband's injuries were from a directed energy attack. Did you still have trouble getting workers' comp and his assisted living payments from the government?
Absolutely. We got a letter in May that said he would be able to receive these benefits. And he got very sick in June and was in the hospital and with an infection. And the doctor said, well, who takes care of him? And I said, well, I do. He said, I think you're going to need more help. I think you need to look at assisted living. So I ran around and found assisted living. It was a very nice place.
It was expensive.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
And the initial fee you have to pay up front. And so I emailed the Office of Workers' Compensation, and it's a special office that only deals with classified cases. So there's basically one individual that works there, and he said, I'll have to check with my supervisor, and that's in an email. And I was like, check with your supervisor. I have an approval letter for this.
So what's striking to me is that at one point when we met, Workers' Comp Department of Labor was behind over $25,000 in its payments to the assisted living. And after our report, it finally got paid. But then recently you got another letter from the Department of Labor. I have it here. And this is after your husband has died.
Yes.
And they have denied you compensation for what amounts to lost wages.
Right.
And the letter has the wrong date of death for your husband.
Right.
And it says that he had an injured knee. When he had a brain injury. When you saw this letter from the Department of Labor, you thought what?
I was furious. It was just so unbelievable that he could mess this up. I mean, all along from the initial start in 2012, when he got classified information that it wasn't an accident, that he and his coworker had developed Parkinson's, from this traumatic brain injury. It took us a couple years just to get, oh yes, there was a weapon that existed that could have caused this injury, but there was no evidence that he was hit with this weapon and his coworker.
Well, what's striking is that you received this letter from the Department of Labor denying you these benefits and compensation when your husband had died 5 months earlier. From injuries associated with that attack. Was that letter an insult on top of all of the injuries that your family has had to deal with?
It was an absolute insult that they could get it so wrong. I mean, how can you get it so wrong? It's basic. All the forms we filled out all had traumatic brain injury. He had letters from his doctor, who was a Parkinson's expert, who even agreed that he didn't have the Parkinson's developed from natural causes, that they were definitely from an outside source because he never had the tremor. And the doctor wrote a very compelling letter, and he is an expert.
That doctor's a nationally recognized
world-renowned expert
in
yes.
Parkinson's. Help people at home understand what it's been like for your family to deal with this struggle, not just your husband's debilitating injuries. He was such a high-performing counterintelligence officer, then he couldn't even live independently in his 60s. And then to be rejected by the government for compensation that you are owed.
Right. It was devastating because we had to basically tell our kids, we paid for them to go to Catholic schools, and we said, you're going to have to really do well because we're not going to have the money to send you to college. And that was the plan. He would have had enough seniority. Benefits. He was going to get promoted, and that was his goal for his boss, and he had worked out a plan for his career path. So it was very devastating.
And for you have two kids. For your kids, their father in many ways was absent.
Right.
Because of these injuries.
And, I remember my son saying, I had gotten very upset, and I had some health issues as well. And I said, my son said, Mom, it's okay. As long as I've known Dad, he's always been sick. It's going to be okay. And that just...
So heartbreaking.
That's a very big motivator because I'm fighting for them and for me to not let this be gone, because there's so many other people wonderful people, younger people who have been injured in a more severe way and more devastatingly than Mike. His injury was in '96, and they're more current injuries, as you and I are well aware. And I'm fighting for them because they're young. They're in their 30s, and they don't deserve to be suffering and pounding their fists.
To be denied the recognition.
To be denied by the same small office who handles all these classified cases.
Okay. Just a closing thought. You have a picture of your husband, late husband, Mike. Why don't you hold that up for me? And what should people know about him?
He was a patriot. He worked hard. He never compromised his security. He was a patriot. When he was diagnosed, he fought for other people. He wanted this to not be something that happened to other people. So in 2012, he was clanging the bell and saying, hey, let's protect people from getting injured. This is what happened to me. Let's not let it happen to anybody else. And at first it fell on deaf ears. And then a few years later, when people in the office where he worked knew,
and
he was
donated,
right.
They donated
Yes, he was donated 240 hours from people that he knew twice, which is not usually the case because it was the same disease. So that was basically 480 hours that people donated. He had used up all his leave, but
it's such
he would say never give up.
It's an amazing story what your family has been able to do for others. Rita Cicala, thank you so much for joining us here this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.